Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right? Oh! The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa.
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score! We'll see you next week, but until then, as always, go Chiefs. Hey, welcome into the Arrowhead Addict podcast. It is Thursday. What the hell is the date? It's July 18th, 2024, and we are back. Patrick Allen here. I was back last week, but I'm back again with my pal from Sports Illustrated, Matt Verderame, and with our new the OG show. That's what this is. The Thursday is the OG show. We've got new fancy logo here. I mean, what do you think of this, Verderame? It's a new era.
I had no idea. It's impressive. It's impressive. I appreciate whoever was putting in the time and the work behind this. If it was Richard, somebody else, I have no idea. Yeah, here I am. This is the third straight hour of podcasting I've done. So we're trucking.
Yeah,
We're getting it done today.
Well, I'm glad that you're all warmed up. But this is the OG hour. We've got so many shows on the Arrowhead Addict podcast now that we thought, hey, let's brand these so people can follow their favorite shows. Hopefully, you're following them all.
Yeah.
But this is the one that started it all. Started the whole thing off. The OG hour. Me, Verderame. There was no video at the time. It was a lot of fun. But I just want to say thank you to Matt, who stepped in, covered for me while I was out on parental leave. I came back last week, of course. Verderame was rightfully taking a nice vacation. But it's good to be back, man. It was a crazy journey, having the kid, going through the whole thing, the birth, all that, the hospital. And I really appreciate everybody holding down the fort so I could spend the time with the little guy, get to know him a little bit, and change 8 billion diapers.
Yeah, that happens. That I've been there. I mean, as far as changing diapers, I'm still there. My youngest is almost out of them, thank God. But yeah, man. More importantly, has it been what you expected it to be? Has it been a lot different than what you thought it might be? Where do you land on the spectrum of that?
I think it's really hard to describe. So I would say not different than I expected, but I don't think anybody was able to give me all anybody says to you, before you have a baby is like, it's going to be so hard. Like, people love saying that. You're not going to sleep. Get ready. It's so hard. And the one thing that somebody said to me that I think actually really hit home once I was in it was actually something that you said to me on the show, which was, I was talking to you about people saying it's so hard and you don't get any sleep. And you said, yeah, it's rough. They're up in the middle of the night, you're not getting any sleep, and you get up to change your diapers, but you don't care because it's your kid and you're happy to do it. And every time that kid wakes me up in the middle of the night and I pick him up and I take him in, I put him on the changing table, and he's looking up at me with these big blue eyes, I'm just like, yeah, man, whatever you want. What can I do for you?
Yeah. I mean, look, people, as you point out, and I've said this to many others, there's always that guy. And I feel like a lot of times it's guys who are like, hey, parenting, it's really tough.
Yeah.
And it's like, look, yeah, there are times parenting's tough, but let's also call this what it is. People who are morons have kids every day and somehow raise those kids to be successful human beings. All the time, people who are complete idiots are able to do this. So my whole thought process when I had Maisie, who was my oldest daughter, I was just like, look, that thought genuinely got me through many months. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And then I'd stop and think about it. But you know what? I know so-and-so, and that person is an idiot.
Yeah.
They could do it. I can do this. And then as time goes on, then it just becomes like, okay, yeah, now I get it. Now Maisie's almost 7. And unless I hear the word gun or a knife or play in the street, I'm like, yeah, sure, that's fine.
Yeah.
So, times change.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll say this, and we can get to the Reid and Chiefs talk. The bittersweet thing that happened to me this week was, unfortunately, we had to put our dog Zelda, who you know and have met, we had to put Zelda down. Doggy dementia, had a really tough fall down the stairs. She was 12 years old. You know what I mean? It was awful, but like she didn't know what was going on. She was practically blind, and she was suffering. And so we had to make that really difficult decision on Monday. And we came home, and we've had Zelda for 11 years, and I did some work, and I went upstairs to check on Mag. She was hanging out with Rory in the bed, and Rory was propped up on a pillow, and he was 7 weeks yesterday, so still pretty young. But on Sunday he smiled at me for the first time while I was clowning around for him, which was really awesome. And I walked into the room, and I love Zelda so much. She was the sweetest, best dog, black lab. She probably appeared on the show a couple times in the background. And I came in, and Mag asked me how I was doing. I said, I feel heartbroken. And as soon as those words came out of my mouth, Rory turned his head, realized I was there, looked at me, and smiled. And I was like, it's going to be all right. This is pretty awesome. Like, this is pretty fucking cool. It's horrible. It's awful to lose a pet or anything that you love. But knowing that I've got my son here, like, this is just an incredible. And I felt like kind of Zelda ushered me into this place, and it's like, all right, you're good, welcome the kid home, and I'm off over the rainbow bridge, as they say.
Well, I'm sorry. I have been down that road. I know how that feels. That sucks. So anyone who's ever had a pet and has cared about a pet, it's a really shitty feeling. So I hear you. Although it sounds like you kind of did the only thing, the right thing. There's nothing worse than people who are like, the dog's fine. Like, the dog is in like indescribable pain. It's over. It's been over 3 years. But I'm glad things are going well with you and Mag and Rory, and just expect it. Listen, that whole thought of like, hey, whatever you want, that doesn't go away, and it only gets more expensive. Right now he can't ask for things. So, but then there's, listen, but every once in a while you got to splurge. So I was on vacation for a few weeks, and I basically spent every time we have on Maisie and Genevieve. We went to Times Square with Maisie, which was expensive beyond words. Although I will tell you, one of the funniest things I've ever had happen in my life happened in Times Square. We were walking. So for those who don't know, Maisie's almost 7. She wanted to see the Statue of Liberty. So I took her down to Battery Park, see the Statue of Liberty. We're going up. We take the train up. Me being a Knicks fan, I'm like, oh, you got to see Madison Square Garden. She didn't care, but I cared. And then we get to Times Square, and there's a guy, like, as we're walking, every time she saw a police officer, said hi, because my best friend is a cop and her godfather. So she's like, she sees the uniform, like, hey, how you doing? And a couple of those guys react like it's the first time somebody said something nice to them in about 10 years. And we're walking, and there's a guy on the sidewalk, and let's just say he was rolling things and many things. And Maisie, I have no idea why she said this, but without skipping a beat, looks at the guy and just goes, I think that guy's dealing drugs.
Oh, way to go, Maisie.
I was like, he is. That's exactly what he's doing. She's like, yeah, I thought he was dealing drugs. And it was one of the funniest. She said it so loud and like right to this guy. And I was just like, yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But yeah, we spent a fortune down there. And then I've been debating like this college football 25 game. I'm like, I used to love those games. Same. Should I get it? I don't have that much time to play games anymore. I'm not a gamer. I don't play a ton of video games. I have a PS4. I'm like, well, if I get this, I don't have to just get the game. I got to get the system. Well, I ended up doing it. I went out and went for it. So I said, you know what? I got to do it now before the kids get too old and I never have any money.
Yeah.
So now I'm just waiting to buy the game tomorrow, and because I didn't get the deluxe version. And then I got to, I'm going to start up a crappy team and bring them to glory. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Fantastic. And look, your kids they're not street smart until you take them to New York City, Times Square, and introduce them to a 47-year-old man in a dirty Elmo costume with knee pads. Like, at that point, once they get through that trauma of seeing that, that's like you can become an adult at that point. Put away childish things.
And she loved it. She thought New York City was the cool. Of course you do know Maisie, you've met her many times, but Maisie's personality is such that like you just can't help but kind of be taken in by her. Like she went to Battery Park and was dancing in the fountains because it was about 100 degrees out. And these monks are watching her dance and they're laughing. And she ends up getting a monk to dance with her. Like she was like trying to get into this guy, God bless, takes off his sandals and gets in the fountain and she's dancing and she's singing like Taylor Swift. This guy's
That's
like,
great.
okay. And then we went to Times Square and we went to the Hershey store and the M&M store and a million other FAO Schwartz. And she was passed out before we got out of the parking garage. But the next day she woke me up. She's like, when can we go back? I got to go back. So, yeah, she had a good time. It was fun.
I love it. Way to go, Maisie. All right, I got to get to the read. Our producer Richard is going to eviscerate me. If you haven't downloaded the FanDuel app yet, you will definitely want to take advantage of this offer. New users who sign up through our link must deposit $10 and place a first wager of $5 on any live bet. If that first bet wins, you will receive $200 in bonus bets straight to your account. This offer is only available if you sign up through our link, bit.ly/arrow150. You can use that link in the description below of our stream, as well as scan the QR code on the screen if you're watching on YouTube to start signing up. Again, that's bit.ly/ARROW150. Offers only available to new customers who are 21 and older and physically present in a legal gambling state. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Check out the episode description for the full terms of the offer. We got a great show for you today here on the OG Hour. A couple of news updates to hit on some injuries. And then we're going to ask some burning questions or answer some burning questions. And then we've got a quick mailbag from some of our subscribers, which is a great way to support the show. If you want to support the show, check out the link in the description below. Become a member, get access to our private Discord. It's a lot of fun. Okay, Verderame, a little bit of news here as we move into talking Chiefs. Training camp is kicking off. The rookies are there. Of course, Mahomes is there, the quarterbacks. And we had our first press conference from Andy Reid, who gave some injury updates. So BJ Thompson, as folks may remember, or maybe not if you tuned out over the summer, is on the non-football injury list and will continue to be so following his cardiac arrest event. It was very scary. That happened in the facility in June, but he's doing well, according to Coach Reid. He's just got to go through some stuff. That's a serious thing, obviously. You don't want to rush anybody back from something like that. Yeah. Charles Omenihu, who has the ACL. Derek Nottie, who has a tricep. Joe Thuney with a pec. Cornerback Jalen Watson with a labrum are all going to begin camp on the PUP list, physically unable to perform. That's fine. He did say, Coach said that Thuney is close to coming back, so that's really good news to get your offensive line right. Leo Chenal has a back, and Nazeeh Johnson has an ACL. They're expected to take part in the initial practices. So that's kind of the news update. Not more to really pick through until the veterans get there and everything gets going. But how are you feeling about the injury situation with there's some big names on that list there on the PUP list?
I think it's fine. Look, I mean, they're all expected. Nottie's expected, Thuney's expected, and then who's like all these. I would anticipate that Thuney will be ready to go by week 1. I don't think that's that big of a deal. Nottie, look, I mean, you'll have to have him back, but at the same point, like I don't think it's that big of a deal if Nottie isn't there week 1. Amenahu's kind of the one I'm watching. Like you would think he's going to have to miss the early part of the season based on the timing of his injury. But I also know that, as the late great Therese Bailey used to say, the contract year is undefeated. And if there's ever a year that Charles Omenihu is going to find a way to get himself out there for week 1, it's this year. So
yeah.
He's kind of the one I'm watching. Everybody else, I feel pretty much like it's fine. And even Omenihu, I mean, it's fine, but I think he's kind of the more interesting of the names as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, you got to get Joe Thuney out there, but this is the time of year, man, where look, Charles Omenihu, he ain't going to forget how to play football. He's been in the system, all that stuff. So the most important thing, again, when you're a team like the Chiefs, is getting these guys on the field when it matters and making sure that they're healthy and they're not going to backslide because you're rushing out there too early. So I'm good with it. And then like the last bit of sort of big news, Patrick Mahomes having another kid.
Yeah.
Guess he saw me doing it, figured I should probably get one more. So congratulations to Patrick and Brittany. I don't think they say anything about the sex, as far as I I'm changing so many diapers. I don't have time to read too much, but I think they just showed the ultrasound photos. So that's great for them. And I think he said that's it. He's done at 3. So congrats to them. That's maybe we get another football player for the Chiefs.
At this point, I mean, they listen. They're looking at kid number 3, and they are not even 30 yet. So I give them all the credit in the world. I had one kid by the age of 30, and I was in it. I was in the weeds, something fierce at that point in time. And I can't now go, granted. Okay. I also understand that if they need some help, they probably can get some.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit different. But hey man, kudos to them. Happy for them. But yeah, I mean, we're going to see. We got one boy, one girl so far for the Mahomes, so a little bit of a tiebreaker scenario.
Yeah, and I think it's funny that I did read that he said he always wanted to have kids at a young age because he was able to like be there when his dad in the locker rooms, and that had such an impact on him. So I actually thought that was kind of interesting. Whereas you might see a lot of people who'd be like, hey, like idiots like me, like I'm 41, I turned 41, and 3 weeks later I had a kid, for the first time. Mahomes is like, hey, I want these kids to be part of this part of my life, and maybe it will have a positive impact or influence on them, it's kind of like a very mature thing to think about when you're the age of somebody like Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, no question. Look, I think it always amazes me with them that they seem like, and I don't know them personally, but I just based on what you take in, through every social media medium there is, it is like they seem like they're pretty active and involved, and then like 2 seconds later, you're like, they're in Wimbledon. And you're like, how the hell? Like what? And like, oh, they're at the NBA Finals. Oh, they're whatever the hell else, some F1 thing. And then like 3 hours later, it's like, oh, playing soccer in the backyard with the kids. Like,
yeah.
Do you ever sleep?
Yeah.
Like, if that was me, if I flew to Wimbledon and back, I would need like 2 days of sleep.
Yeah.
And I guess, it's kind of like at this point, Travis Kelce, I guess you're just used to it. You're like, what plane am I on now? Oh, okay, cool. Like I read somewhere, and I genuinely don't remember where, but I read somewhere that Kelce, whenever he's flying, I'm assuming to see Taylor Swift, I'm guessing that's just all the time, but she makes sure his plane is stocked with Joe's barbecue. And I was like, I can't even imagine like the level of a life you've got to have. Like you get on a plane, you're like, I smell burnt ends.
Yeah.
Like,
not just any burnt ends though.
Like, oh my God. Like,
it is really, and you're right. They have incredible, I think it takes 2 things to do what they're doing. The Mahomes is with because is always involved with the kids. Kids are with them, and then they're going around doing all these really incredible things. One is a boatload of money. They've got that, right? So it makes things easier. Childcare, flying, just everything about your life. You don't have to cook. They just can take care of everything you need to take care of. You don't have to worry about it. That's right. One. And then 2 is just an incredible amount of like drive and stamina, which they obviously both have. They're both high achieving people. And meanwhile, I work from home. I have 1 kid, and I'm trying to figure out if I can work out 1 time this week. And right. But like Mahomes is like, he's a professional athlete.
Yes.
And he's doing that kind of regime. It's I don't think even if I had as much money as he had that I could be doing that kind of life.
I got to the gym the other day and I took a picture of it from the outside. And I sent it in a group text to my friends. I asked does this count as going to the gym? Because
just driving by, it was a blur.
I don't. And I got there this morning. And I've been on vacation. I'm like, I got to go in there. I got to get a good lift in and keep, try to stay somewhat fit. And I knew in the back of my mind I had to make like 6 different phone calls because Steph and I are closing on a place in Wisconsin like next week. And so
nice.
Thank you. So it's
vacation home? Yeah,
Lake home. Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you.
Geneva?
Well, no, it's up in about 4 hours north of here.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Very cool.
About an hour from Minocqua. But in any event, so I'm like, I'm going to do all these. I got to call these people. I'm putting it off. I got to the gym. That was the moment. I'm like, I'm going to make all these calls right now. And I just sat in the car for like 40 minutes and avoided going in there. I'm like, I don't want to do this. Then I went in eventually and did do it. But yeah, it was like all the motivation I needed to do every other chore in my life that I've been putting off constantly for a month.
Yeah, I feel you just look really hard at the gym and burn calories that way. So one thing that Mahomes said before we get to the burning questions here, he did an interview this week and he said he talked about last year not being fun for the Chiefs, even though they won the Super Bowl, of course. Yeah, and here's what he said. I'm going to read you the quote. The end result of last season was awesome, but I think a lot of us still have a weird feeling in our mouth. It wasn't fun every single week, having to try to just continue to get better and better, and the results not paying off the way you wanted to. It wasn't a lot of fun. We have a lot of those same guys back, and they know how it felt, and we're going to try to prepare ourselves better this year so that we can play better through the season and obviously try to end it with the same result. Okay. I think it says a lot about the kind of person he is and the kind of like culture and mentality they have. And I know we've all felt it as fans. Like, that was not a fun season to watch. Just like it wasn't. Like, from an entertainment aspect, it was incredibly frustrating. And, I was thinking about when you get to a certain point, like there was a point in the 90s, or God, for some of you older timers, in the 80s and 70s, where like you would have killed for a season like that with that much competence and winning and all that stuff. But we're a little bit spoiled here. And I wanted to ask you, do you value at this point with the Chiefs entertainment more or less than them just winning Super Bowls? Like, what's important to you? Like, would you like to see them be back like the 2018 Chiefs and get some more fun games and blowouts and things like that? Or are you like all on the championship bandwagon?
Oh, when I don't give a shit what it looks like. I don't care. I think, look, I get why Mahomes feels the way he does. Okay. I get it. I think that statement, what he said, the quote you read, jumped out at me. It jumped right through the screen when I saw him say it. I think he said it on purpose. I think it was a tone setter. I don't think there's any question about that. Now, I think he would tell you, hey, look, let's win first and worry about style later. But I also think there is truth in the fact, like, I don't know that the way they won last year is all that sustainable. Like, that team offensively was a wreck. They were a wreck offensively. And to their credit, they pulled it together to some extent in the playoffs, and they found a way to win. But that team was largely carried by its coaching and its defense. And then the offense being able to play here and a play there and doing just enough not to sink the ship. I would expect that this year will be different in a few ways. Actually, it's funny. I just recorded before we came on here the old Matt Verderame show, and I had Joshua Briscoe on. Let's go up tomorrow morning over on Patreon, and I talked to him about this quote. I said, one of the things I said in the pod, not to give it away, but I was like, look, they're not going to put up with a training camp full of mental errors and things just kind of like, that's okay. We'll correct that later. I have a feeling it's going to be corrected right now on the spot because they don't want to deal with that again. And I think that's a real thing. And I think it's a tone setting thing that's going to last throughout the summer at St. Joe's.
It's very important. I'm with you. I want them to win. There's like legacy now from Mahomes and the whole organization, Andy and all that stuff. Just win it. But it is fun when they have those games, and there weren't many of them last season. What was the most entertaining season of the Mahomes era, where you had the most fun, regardless of whether or not they won the Super Bowl, but that could be a factor? When did you have the most fun watching them?
A specific season?
Yeah.
I guess I'd have to say the most fun, like just purely fun, was probably the first year Mahomes started.
Agreed.
Because that was just ridiculous. Like, nobody, look, I don't care. You could be the biggest Mahomes guy in the world. I don't care who you are. Nobody thought he's going to go out and throw for 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards and win MVP, and this team is going to be a light show every single week. I would say that. I always believe, like, when a team comes out of nowhere, you can have seasons after that are even more successful, but at that point you have expectations for them. The most fun as a sports fan, other than winning a title, is when the team that you're rooting for, like, maybe you think like they're okay, and then they just go nuts this is
Yeah.
incredible. I can't believe
Yeah.
it. That was the ultimate example of that.
I agree. 2018 was especially fun because the rest of the NFL was not, just like we weren't ready for that. Like the rest of the NFL wasn't ready, and it took them time to adjust.
Right.
And so like you saw these games where he's just like lighting up the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like he was getting coverages and looks that he's never going to see consistently ever again, unless like maybe when he's playing and he's like 47 and his skills have diminished. Like that was a golden time where you had a guy who was absolutely amazing and nobody knew it yet, and he had really incredible weapons and a really incredible coach, and they just for 12 games or so just got to feast on people. You had the game against the Rams that they lost. It was an unbelievable game. And the play against the 49ers where he ran all over the field. It just so many incredible things. Now teams are appropriately afraid of him. They're trying to force him and the Chiefs offense to be boring. So that was a moment in time. That was for sure the most entertaining, even though they didn't win the Super Bowl.
I just think that was such a weird, you went into that kind of going, hey, okay, this is going to be fun. They draft this guy. You're going the first round. Can't wait to see it. How's it play out? And then all of a sudden, you're like, oh my God. Like that went from this could be fun. This is cool to like 4 weeks into it, him throwing a left-handed pass against Denver on Monday Night Football.
Right.
And you're like, oh my God, this guy is the best player I've ever seen. Like what is it? I mean, very rarely does a player in any sport just go from being like, okay, like, this guy's interesting to this guy's a Hall of Famer, like instantly. And I remember talking to my dad after they beat the Steelers, second week of that year. He threw 6 touchdowns in the game. And my dad's always very reserved. He's like, that guy's a Hall of Fame player. Like this guy, I didn't need to see more of this guy. Like 8 quarters is enough. This guy's going to the Hall of Fame. I mean, and you just felt that. It was incredible. So yeah, I think that has to be the answer for me.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, let's get to these burning questions. Again, this is the OG Hour on the Arrowhead Addict podcast. Patrick Allen with Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated. Here to answer some burning questions. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button and let's get into it. Okay, so I just jotted down a couple, and then I've got a little mailbag section from some of our members. So number one, who will be the starting tackles for the Chiefs when the season begins this year?
Oh, Juwan Taylor. And I'll say Sua Mata'ia. I think he gets the job. I think it's a real battle, but I think he has the leg up.
You're going to have to go round and round with our own Sterling Holmes, who's on the Tuesday and the Wednesday show, because he thinks it's going to be Wanya Morris. The last I heard him talking about this subject, he thinks Wanya is going to come through. Do you think Wanya has a chance, or is he sort of like your swing backup?
No, I think it's a chance. I think it's a real competition. But I think, I think he's a guy who's shown he can at least play somewhat, and that gives you the versatility that if he can't win the job, you feel like he can be a swing backup, and you're not like, oh my God, like if this guy has to play a month, what happens? You know what happens. You win the Super Bowl anyway. Yeah. So I think Sua Mata'ia has the inside track. I don't think it's impossible that Morris wins the job, and I think that if you're the Chiefs, your whole goal is you want to feel good about who's starting, and you don't want to feel like you have to go sign Donovan Smith.
Yeah. It would be fantastic. It's going to be, I think, the camp battle to watch, and it's going to be really exciting because what you're hoping. So, like the bad scenario would be, I think, if Wanya Morris is starting, and that's not a knock against Wanya Morris, but when you look at draft capital, where Kingsley was taken, Wanya versus Wanya Morris, it would mean that probably they're just not comfortable with how Kingsley's developing. They took him where they took him because they were hoping he could start. Now, what you're really hoping for is a really, really tight battle where they're like, we don't know what to do because they're both playing really, really well. That means Kingsley's up to the task, but it means Wanya's maybe made the jump with the year that he had and the experience he got under his belt. And so now, whoever doesn't get that job, you've got a great backup. And if Juwan Taylor continues to struggle or with the penalties or whatever, you have a potential viable option over there on the right side. So that's what I'm looking for as we get into camp.
Yeah. I think, look, again, you're hoping that you don't have to go out and break glass in case of emergency and sign Donovan Smith. And if you don't, it's probably because you feel pretty good about Sua Mata'ia and Morris in some order. And so I think if you're Kansas City, that's your hope. You do not want to have to watch this battle for 2 weeks and go, yeah, we got to go sign Donovan Smith. Like that's the goal here. At least that's the way I see it.
Just real quick in the chat, Lauren Shanks asked about he wants to take some PTO off to catch a day or two at camp. Are there dates you need to target? Now, I'm not a camp expert, but what I suggest, Lauren, is go to the Chiefs website where they have the day-by-day schedule, because there are a couple like family days and things like that, days that are blackout days. That's probably where you're going to want to target, when you want to be there. And of course, I'd look at the weather too, see when it's going to be the fifth circle of hell.
Yeah, it's hot. I would tell you that they don't start cracking pads until toward the end of July. So I would go at the earliest, like the very end of July, early August. In fact, I actually just know I'm going to be there August 1st. So I'm looking forward to being in St. Joe's and then immediately getting as much barbecue and bourbon as I possibly can.
Well, so that's when you want to go, is when Matt Verderame is going to be there. Maybe you can get an autograph.
Just start, that's right. Just start yelling at. I'll be in the media tent.
Yeah.
Probably sitting there bothering Nate Taylor. Just start screaming at me. It'd be good.
Yeah. All right. Next burning question here. Is the impact that Xavier Worthy is going to have on this offense this season a little overhyped in your view?
Yeah, probably. I mean, look, I will say, though, there's a caveat to this one. It comes to what are we getting out of Rashee Rice? I mean, I don't know the answer to that question. So it's a really hard question to answer in terms of Worthy. If Rashee Rice is here for 17 games and he's not suspended this season, I mean, it's in some order: Kelsey, Rice, Hollywood, Brown, before you even get to Worthy. And then if you want to just talk about the totality of the offense, you also put in Pacheco. Like Worthy's the fifth option, which is it speaks to the depth of the offense all of a sudden. If Rice isn't there, then Worthy's probably starting, and he's playing. Now you could argue, well, he's starting in a three receiver set. Yeah, but it's different. There's a lot more weapons and mouths to feed and everything else. Now all of a sudden, now he's number 3 on the depth chart, and you're throwing the ball a lot more. But if you look at the Chiefs, look at what a tire fire they were offensively last year. Rashee Rice was not getting a ton of targets last season to start. That was something we talked about over and over and over and over. They would not get the ball to him in a way that we all thought it was sufficient based on what we were seeing from him and from other players. Because if you go and look, you look at his numbers, go, man, 79 catches, 938 yards, 7 touchdowns. Great year. If you look at it, early on in the season, his snap count percentage, 31, 18, 51, 46, 30, 49. And then from there, 59. Then after that, every week but one was 60 plus. But again, his targets, he went over 5 targets twice early in the year. And then the last handful of games, 10, 9, 10, 9, 12, 6. And in the playoffs, 12, 4, 9, 8. They really ratcheted it up. And I think you might see the same thing with Worthy. The first 2/3 of the year, they might not sit there and just feed him the ball, especially if they've got Rice and Brown and Kelsey. They don't have to. So, I think there probably is a little bit of that just because he's a first-round pick and he's a receiver and he's 4-2 and all that stuff.
The Rice suspension that we know is coming could be a little bit, I don't want to say, if you're looking for a silver lining there, it could be that it forces them to play Worthy a little bit more than they would early in the season. And the results may be the same, in which that he doesn't maybe produce a ton because he's a rookie in a complicated offense, but he gets the reps. And then later in the season, when he's a little bit more seasoned, he's able to make a little bit more of an impact. So look, it's going to be what it's going to be. I think the Chiefs have done a good, Brett Veach did a great job of putting things together and making sure the Chiefs have depth on this offense. And we'll see what Worthy does. But, go back and look at Tyreek Hill's rookie season. It wasn't, it was good. He made the Pro Bowl, because of some of the things he did on special teams, but he didn't go for 2,000 yards or anything. So, temper your expectations for Worthy. Okay. Number 3 here. Will Skyy Moore make the team? Can't believe I'm asking that, but this is where we are.
Yes. Because I think they'll keep 6 receivers. Let's assume for a minute that Rice is on the opening day roster. He's not suspended. So it would be Rice, Watson, Brown, Worthy, Hardman. I think those 5 guys are locks if they're healthy and they're on the active. Like, and they're not suspended in the case of Rashee Rice. And they are locks. They'll lose one guy. And that could be Remigio. That could be Justin Ross. That could be Kadarius Toney. But to me, the guy who makes the most sense is Skyy Moore. And believe me, nobody's criticizing me more than him. Or nobody's criticized him more than me, I should say. But he's a former second-round pick. He's not expensive. They have no investment in Ross and Remigio. None. And Toney, I will admit, I usually am pretty good about knowing how they're thinking. The Toney thing is staggering to me. I don't know why in God's name he's still on the team. I love the fact that he skipped OTA, so he apparently doesn't need him. But I think Skyy Moore, again, like, they have an investment in Toney. They trade the number 100 overall pick for him. But I think they would keep Moore over Toney. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they keep Toney. I think it's between those two. I do think that, but I'll say that they keep Moore.
Yeah, the draft capital pride has come into play. It's going to be, but you know what? If he's shown no improvement, when he gets to camp, I could see them potentially cutting bait. If there's somebody else who's looks hungry, and is showing, if Remigio is looking good, it's probably not a huge detriment to them. So it's going to be on Skyy Moore to take a step forward to try to kind of salvage this part of his career, or otherwise he will be looking for work out there.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay. So, by the way, I just want to say, we were talking about Worthy, and I heard a really great, somebody was asking Louis Riddick, who I know has been on your show before. One of my absolute favorite, I've never had the pleasure of meeting him in person, but he's one of my absolute favorite analysts. I think he's just so smart, usually right on the money, even tempered with his takes for the most part. They were asking him about Xavier Worthy with speed. And he said, you can't underestimate how much having that kind of speed on the field matters, even in the NFL where like everybody's really fast. And he told this great story about Joey Galloway. And he was like, I think he was talking about kickoff return. And he was like, Joey Galloway got 2 steps on me. And I was pretty much just unbuckling my chin strap and heading to the sideline because what's the point? I'm not catching him. He's gone. And he said that guys know, like, even though they're incredible athletes, like they know a guy like Tyreek Hill, a guy like Xavier Worthy, like they have to respect and give them space, because if one of those guys does get a step or 2 on them, they can't catch. They literally can't catch. It doesn't matter how bad they want to, how hard they work in the weight room, they're gone. And I think that's one of the reasons why the Chiefs wanted him on the team.
Yes. And no question. Listen, the one thing that you can never underestimate with speed is it changes the way you have to play defense. It forces you, like, for an example, last year was the first year in a long time. The defenses basically said, we will play cover 1 and cover 3. We will sit in single high safety because your receivers suck. And we don't care about Marquez Valdes-Scantling speed because he's not good. And Justin Watson has speed and he's fine and well, but he is not going to scare anybody to backing off and to backing off at Kelsey. And the more you can play that closed middle look, which is a single high safety, the more you can do that, the more you can bracket Kelsey. And you can try to rob some of those underneath routes that they get from Rice and all the rest of it. Like, they lost that ability at times last year because it couldn't threaten anybody. Marquise Brown and Xavier Worthy, and to be fair, Brown even more so in a way because he's proven he can do it at the NFL level. Worthy, we're going to find out. You have to play 2 high safeties against this team now. You have to. It is a death sentence not to play 2 high safeties against them. They will just go bombs away. And so I think one of the biggest factors now, Rashee Rice is going to be more open on these crossers, and Kelsey is going to be more open underneath. And Pacheco is going to have one less guy to face in the box. Like, I would not be surprised if all these other guys have better years this year. And you're like, man, look at that. Kelsey bounced back. Yeah, because there's nobody in the middle of the field anymore. Like, it's all single coverage. I mean, you'd rather give up 12 yards to Kelsey than 50 to Xavier Worthy over the top. So I do think that matters a tremendous amount because it changes. First of all, it changes the way defenses play against you. Secondly, it makes them more predictable. So you now can sit there and go into a game and go, we got all these 2 high beaters because we know what we're going to see the whole game.
Right. Yeah. I think that's an excellent point. Making it easier on the coaching staff, knowing what teams can't do against you is a huge advantage for somebody like Andy Reid on the offensive side of the ball. Okay. Let's go to defense. George Karlaftis. Will his production level off this year, or will he make the leap? What do you expect to see out of George Karlaftis this season?
I have had I guess maybe a hot take, maybe not. I think the Chiefs are going to lead the league in sacks this year. That's my opinion going into it. I'm kind of sticking with. They've been second each of the last 2 years. I think Karlaftis is a big reason why. Like he had 10.5 last year. I don't think he's going to all of a sudden have like 20, but I think that he is going to have, 12.5, 13, something like that. He has been really, really good the last season and a half. I don't think Jones is getting to his prediction of 20. I wouldn't be surprised if he's 14, 15. And then you'll get like a Menahu and Dana and the way they blitz with all these other guys. They get so much pressure. But I think Karlaftis has another little jump in him. I don't think all of a sudden he's going to be TJ Watt, but I think he'll have Pro Bowl consideration. I think he's going to have 12 to 13, which if he does that, that's a huge year. 10.5 is a damn good year. 12 to 13 is huge. I think he'll get there. I think that he will mature and continue to play better. And also, again, it's the circumstances around him. You can't double him. So I think that will help him to get to that higher number as well.
Yeah, Phantom said define leap. In my mind, it's not even just maybe necessarily getting more sacks, because we all know how like fluky the actual sack numbers can be a little bit. You get a couple extra or you miss a couple. I think for me, it would be him kind of becoming like a top 12 NFL pass rusher, like somebody that's feared on a down-to-down basis, just like a constant, huge problem. He's a big effort guy right now, and he's talented, but can he make that jump? Or does he end up just becoming, he's a 7 to 10 sack guy, like reliable, nobody's game planning around him, but they know he's there. And, can he get to that next level? I think he can. This guy's a first-round pick for a reason. He went at the end of the first round for a reason. Pass rushers don't go at the end of the first round when they're ready to just go in and dominate right away. So he needed a little bit of work. He needed a little bit of seasoning. He's got tons of reps. We talked about this, I think, on a show not that long ago, where like he's almost gotten another, half season of reps from playoff games by being on the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So, if he's going to make the jump, now would probably be the year I would venture to guess.
Yes. I think that's fair. I think he's shown that he's a really good player who's only gotten better. And I think that when you look again at the situation around him, it is very, very, very hard to do anything but single block and hope you can handle it. And some teams are going to handle it fine. Some teams are going to give up 2.5 sacks. And I think he will, all told, I think he will have a very, very, very nice season for the Chiefs.
All right. Next burning question, to make sure you give us a like if you're watching on YouTube. Who is the bigger threat to the Chiefs in the AFC? Is it the Ravens, the Bengals, or the Texans?
The Bengals. The Ravens, to me, at this point, I've seen the movie 100 times. And I get it and I respect it. They signed Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry's awesome. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame, rightfully so. I still think he's a very good running back. Their problem is not that they can't run the football. Their problem is that they are now missing 3/5 of the offensive line that they had last year. They are missing their defensive coordinator, Mike McDonald. They are missing Geno Stone. They're missing Patrick Queen. They're missing Jadeveon Clowney. They're missing Odell Beckham and Devin Duvernay in their return game. Like, that's a ton. That's a lot. So Baltimore, to me, I just feel like to me, the Chiefs, week 1, who knows what will happen. If they play the Ravens in the playoffs, they'll beat them. Houston is an interesting one. I guess my pushback on Houston is just, I respect the Texans. I think their roster's awesome. They're really young. And I just wonder, like, if the Bengals go to Arrowhead in an AFC title game, let's be real. They know they can win. I don't know that Houston's going to know that they can win. I feel like the Texans are going to think like, hey, maybe we can win. But the Bengals know they can. I think that's a big difference. And I think the Bengals, there's also a little bit of desperation. Like Higgins is probably gone after this year. Who knows with Hendrickson? I think that also factors into.
I'm with you. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Texans took a little bit of a step back this year as they adjust and teams adjust to them. That happens all the time. We see guys come in and just like Patrick Mahomes, CJ Stroud kind of caught some people off guard. I know he was the second pick in the NFL draft and Mahomes was 10, but like people didn't expect that. Nobody ever does out of these rookies usually. So I'm with you. It's the Bengals as long as Burrow is healthy. And that's the biggest question mark hanging over Cincinnati. And can Burrow, like, is he injury prone? Like it's not been great
at this point.
It's not been great, and he's missed a ton of time. And that injury he had last year was serious. And we'll see how that impacts him. He looks good in the practice clips that I've seen, but the Bengals do also get off to a slow start traditionally with him. So it's going to be fascinating when that game kicks off in week 2, Chiefs Bengals, just to see exactly where those two teams are at. But I'm with you. Ton of respect for the Ravens, their coach Lamar. But I think if all things being equal, if everybody plays to their best, I think the Bengals are the second best team in the AFC, given the offensive firepower that they have.
I do too. And I think they're the team that you have to respect the most. I see Jack in the chat says, what about the Raiders? Sir, with all due respect, no. They won a game on Christmas because the Chiefs gave him back-to-back touchdowns on defense, and Aiden O'Connell didn't complete a pass for 3 quarters. I got to tell you, I don't see it. It's my 2 cents. But, hey, listen, we'll see. That's why they play the games.
That is why they play the games. We'll see what Antonio Pierce can do there in Vegas. Okay. Next one. What 2 players do you expect to return kicks this season for the Chiefs in the new format?
I'll say Xavier Worthy, and I'm to the point. I'll buy in that he makes a team. Reid Zammit. I'll say those 2 guys. Yeah, what the hell? I'll say those 2 guys are returning kicks for.
I'm just so interested to see what Dave Tobe and Andy Reid and everybody cook up in this scenario. It's going to be one of the more interesting. I'm just glad I'll be able to watch kickoffs again. It's going to cut down on my bathroom run time. But I was telling Mag, with Rory, he's going to be. I've got a great little Chiefs outfit for him. I bought it. It's the first thing I got it for Christmas last year, and I got it specifically for the age of 3 to 6 months, so he could have it all football season and be ready to go. I'm going to be watching the kid. That's what I'm going to be doing. I was like, hey, give me the baby on Sundays because my ass is going to be parked in front of the TV all day anyway. Yeah, playing fantasy football. I can change diaper and watch Patrick Mahomes. I could give a bottle and watch Patrick Mahomes. It'll be great bonding. Kid's going to have a hell of a first year of his life getting to watch Patrick Mahomes.
Hey man, listen. I remember the first time. Now Alex Smith was the quarterback, but I was 20. Yeah, Mahomes rookie year, technical rookie year. I was watching the Chiefs and Washington play a Monday night game that they ended up winning on a Butker field goal at the end, and I was holding Maisie, who was weeks old at that point. And I'm sitting there watching the game. I'm pacing around. I'm holding her, and all of a sudden, I'm like, "What feels different? What is it?" And I look down, peed all over me.
Yeah.
Didn't even move. I sat there like an animal for like 30 minutes, just covered in piss, just watching the end of that game. And then we all just had to shower and towel off and all the rest of it. But these things happen.
Yeah, I'll definitely never forget the first time Rory had a blowout.
Oh yeah.
I just had that it was like the looks on. If there was a camera on me, I would have fit right in with the actors in the first scene of Saving Private Ryan. That 1,000-yard stare, because I'm taking that diaper off and it's blowout and it's everywhere. And then one thing I hadn't learned yet, which I know now, is if you hear them going, wait, because they might not be done. So I've got the diaper off and he's not done and he just is letting loose, and it was just Saving Private Ryan theme music, 1,000-yard stare. Like I didn't know what to do. It was something else. I know all you parents out there know what I mean. I'm sure you've all had that moment. And of course, with with the boys, you got to watch out, man, because that's fire hose. They'll pee, and it's amazing the range.
But
Yeah,
I mean, I've been at a restaurant once or twice when one of the kids just absolutely had a blowout, and it was like up their back.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it happened one time at a mall, and Maisie was like 6 months old. I honestly, God, I just stripped her down, wiped her off, and just walked her into Macy's in like nothing but a diaper.
Yeah.
Like, just outfit her. I don't care.
Yeah.
Whatever. Somebody put some
towel, bath towel, whatever you guys got.
It's fine.
Okay. Couple more here. Andy Reid. We didn't get a chance to talk about this, I don't think, but he got a new deal from the Chiefs. $100 million, I think, averages $20 million a year. He's going to be with the team for at least 5 more seasons. His contract will expire after the Super Bowl in February of 2029, so through the 2028 season, a month before his 76th birthday. His birthday is in March. Is it safe to assume that this is the last deal in KC for Andy Reid?
Yes. Yeah. I don't see him coaching into his late 70s. I mean, I think even quite honestly, I think he's probably going to do it for at least 2 or 3 more. But, after that, it's probably year to year. I think it's probably realistic.
Yeah. Well, look, apparently you can be president all the way up until you're like 86. So if you be president, maybe Andy will, if he's got.
I don't know. Can you be president when you're 86?
Well,
recent returns say
you
maybe
can at
not.
least you can run and you can get the nomination. I mean, both these guys are up there, right? So I mean, we're just we've got literal corpses.
By the way, but I think it doesn't matter what side I think anybody can appreciate this. I was on vacation when on Saturday, deranged maniac tried to assassinate Trump.
Yeah.
And I'm on the golf course. Like I'm out golfing with my friend of mine who've been friends with him for 20 years. We're golfing and we're on the top, like literally on the top of a mountain on the Catskill Mountain Range. So service is very spotty. Like, and even in your golfing, so you're not checking your phone, whatever. We golf the back 9 first. We go to the front 9. We're about midway through the front 9. And some guy, don't know who he is, no idea, drives by on a golf cart and just at like full speed as he's going to the next hole is passing us and just goes, "Hey, Trump got shot," and then just drives away.
Keeps going, doesn't get no
like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, he just kept going. And so for like 45 minutes, my buddy and I are like, was this guy kidding?
Yeah.
Like, did he actually get? Is he a lot? Like, what happened? And then we get to the clubhouse and ask this guy. He's got the TV on, and he's like, "Yeah, I think so. I'm not 100% sure." I'm like, "What do you mean you're not sure?" Like, he's like, "It's hard to tell." And of course, like now after like obviously seeing everything unfold for the last week, you're like, "Oh well, all right, maybe he was confused. Like if it was glass because I know there was like initial report it might have been teleprompter." Point is, for 45 minutes on a golf course, no clue. Well, just completely left in the dark by this guy who just drove by like a maniac, and just screams, "Trump got shot," and then just drove away. Yeah. So I'd like to thank that guy for 45 minutes of just having absolutely no idea. I'm like, I'm thinking to myself as I'm golfing, like, if that really happened and like the worst case scenario played out, like this could be an interesting night in the country. Like what's going on? I mean, all this stuff.
God. It's crazy. People are nuts. They're absolutely nuts. Just vote, man. Like what?
Yeah, crazy. So look, regardless of your politics, like obviously, look, glad nobody was killed. I should say
somebody was killed.
I'm glad that one of the candidates was not killed. It is awful that someone lost their life. I know 2 other people were shot in critical
first responders too.
Awful. Yeah. Firemen. I mean, awful stuff. So tragic that he lost his life and all that. But yeah, I mean, just. Well, that was an interesting way to find out about that news.
And you hope that none of these other wing nuts that are out there that, they see this stuff on TV, like with the school shootings or whatever, or copycats, like, and that nobody else tries to knock off Biden or Trump or anybody else, any other politician.
Just put it down and be a normal human being.
Right,
just do that.
Grass. God almighty. Okay. One more. What is more likely? Mahomes wins his 3rd MVP, or the Chiefs complete the three-peat and win the 3rd Super Bowl in a row?
Oh, man.
Two incredibly difficult things to do.
Yes. I'll say the three-peat. I might be in the minority. Oh, I don't know if I am, right? I'm not sure. I think this is potentially when in the caveats, of course, like for Rashid Rice, is he there for the whole season? Amenahu, I think this might be the best team's ever played on. Like, I think this team, there's a world where, hey, like you got Brown and Kelsey and Worthy factors in here some, and you got Rice, you got Pacheco, and that defense is just, I mean, there's even with Snead being gone, he's a loss. Like there's still a top 10 defense. It might even be top 5. And that, the coaching staff and everything. I just think, look, if you said to me you're going to bet Denver the field, I'd bet the field because that's just a smart thing to do. But if you said to me you got to bet on one team against them, they're ridiculous. So yeah. I'll say them. I just think too the MVP is a little bit of a narrative thing too. Like Mahomes might even have the best year, but if like Stroud is 10% worse, but they win 12 again, like it might be, give Stroud. Like, and I get that. I'll say the MVP is very possible, but I'll say that they three-peat.
Yeah, it's boring to give it to Mahomes, right? Like it's exactly. It's why Andy Reid never wins Coach of the Year. Despite like you could look at last year and be like, he should have won Coach of the Year, like the way that they played on offense, But he'll never get credit because now it's expected that they would have to go undefeated for him to win Coach of the Year. Yeah. It'd probably be the only way. And I agree with you. I think it's crazy that the more likely outcome is that they win a third Super Bowl in a row. But really, when you look at it in a vacuum, it's just, does he win the MVP or do they win the Super Bowl this year? What happened before doesn't matter. And Mahomes has reached the point where he does not care. Like if what is required of him for them to win the Super Bowl is for him to go scorched earth and throw 57 touchdowns, that's what he will do. But if what is required of him is to throw 21 touchdowns and just ground and pound or something for whatever reason, that's what Mahomes will do because Mahomes is playing the legacy game now. And I just think it's going to come down. And Brady was like this too, right? Brady didn't care. He didn't care about stats. All he cared about was winning. You give him Randy Moss and the right offense and Gronk, and he's going to scorched earth offense, greatest show on turf. And you give him Wes Welker, he's just going to nickel and dime you to death. So I think that's the most likely outcome as well, is that they win a third Super Bowl in a row. And I agree with you. This is a really talented team. The only thing I'm concerned about is, does the tackle situation play out? But I think it could be at least as good as it was last year with what they have.
I agree.
And how much does the defense fall off with the loss of Snead, who was incredible? Yes. But they should still be an elite defense, even if there's a little bit of a fall off, and the offense should be better. So why shouldn't these guys be right back in the Super Bowl? The offense should be a lot better, actually.
My God, the offense, it would take an effort to be worse.
Yeah, it really would. Okay. Couple of mailbag questions from our supporters, friends, in the Ring of Honor tier of our membership here at Arrowhead Addict. If you want to become a member of the Arrowhead Addict podcast crew, be in the private Discord, be in our fantasy football leagues, that we got to get moving on those, producer Richard. It's going to sneak up on us really quickly. All that fun stuff that we do, member happy hours and things like that, meetups when we're in town. Check out the link in the description. There's a bunch of different levels and ways to support the show. Okay. And sometimes you get to ask a question and have it right on the show and answered. So from our guy, the Common Shaman, over under 3 interceptions for McDuffie as his role changes a bit this year. First team All-Pro with 0 currently. What do you think?
I'll say under. The man's never had an interception, but I think he's an All-Pro again. I think he's fantastic. I don't think here's the biggest reason, honestly. I don't think he's going to throw at him. Yeah. I think teams are going to go Watson, go Williams, are going to challenge the hell out of those guys. I don't think they're going to throw at McDuffie.
Those will be the guys that get the picks.
Right. Yeah. Like Watson will have like 5 interceptions because the opportunity.
Yeah. McDuffie's just a menace all over the field. So you want to try to keep the ball as far away from that guy as you can, because if you're not going to give him the opportunity to intercept it, he's just going to rip it out of somebody's hands. So he's been absolutely incredible in that department. Okay. I'm with you. Jess says, can Mahomes break Manning's passing record, which, if for those who don't know, is 5,477 yards set in 2013, this year with Hollywood Brown? What do you think?
I'll say, I mean, look, could he? Yeah, I'll say no. I don't think he will. That's a ridiculous number. That is it's got a guy through that 16 games. Like that's an insane number. I will say, I think that again, first of all, I just don't think I'll break it because it's a crazy number. But part of it too is again, like I think they're going to be really good. There's going to be games where I think they're just running the clock out. I think they're going to have games like that. It's hard to throw that many yards. Like the year do for 5,000 plus. The first time, the MVP year is 2018. They had no defense.
It's the defense.
They should keep scoring. Like they scored 35 points every game to win it. I do not think that's going to be the case with this team.
I'm with you. I wouldn't even be surprised if he doesn't throw for 5,000 yards. Like the defense is just not bad enough to require him to throw the ball that much. So, I mean, we'll see. You never know what could happen. Injuries, all that stuff. We could just be wrong.
Right.
Being a top defense year after year after year is really hard. There's usually some regression. I don't see it with this team. Maybe in the future he'll get it, but probably not this year. And then he adds, Jess adds, and a fun topic to talk about. What's the official candy of Arrowhead Addict? I think everyone knows that's Reese's Cups, right?
Yeah, it's Reese's Peanut Cups. And if they'd like to sponsor us, and we could take half that money, I'm down with it.
Yeah. By the way, I saw this video the other today actually of this woman. She was making a s'more, her version of a s'more. She took a Reese's Cup, she put it on the stick, and then she dipped it in a jar of that marshmallow fluff. Okay, and like just moved it around and completely encased the Reese's Cup in the marshmallow fluff, and then toasted the marshmallow fluff over the fire, which started melting the Reese's Cup inside, and then put it on 2 graham crackers. I think the woman should be given the Nobel Prize.
Wow, that's that sometimes you just got to admit when you see brilliance.
Yeah,
and that might be it.
It sounds absolutely unbelievable. Right, one last thing before we go. We're not going to do a Patty's Power Rankings this week, but I just wanted to just bat something around with Verderame. You saw on Twitter that I was talking about how Reese's Pieces are like 1 billion times better than M&Ms.
I did.
No debate. Okay. There's this subset of people that I don't understand that are like really big, and I don't know which side of the fence you sit on this, but they're really big peanut M&Ms people. Those
people can get the fuck out.
Right. Am I right? I think peanut M&Ms are garbage.
Yeah. Listen, I eat them? Yeah. Do I want to eat them? No. M&Ms, and I'm not going to factor in all these stupid variations that have like 9,000 variations. Believe me, and I mean 9,000. I was at the M&M store with Maisie, all right? Yeah. The kid, by the way, genius move on her part. Idiot move by me. If you've ever been to that M&M store in Times Square, they give you these bags. And you put them underneath these huge canisters of M&Ms. They like literally go to the ceiling. Like they're like 20, 25 feet high. You pull the lever and then they shoot out and then you pay by weight. Me, an idiot, gives Maisie the bag and just goes, all right, honey, which ones do you want? Oh, these. Good kid. Good job by her. She gets the peanut butter M&Ms, which are the best kind of M&Ms.
Yes.
She then grabs the lever and yanks down on it and will not let go. I walked out with 2 pounds of M&Ms and a pound of Skittles. But in any event, M&Ms. Okay, here we go. Peanut butter M&Ms, regular M&Ms. I have not seen what Sean speaks of these caramel M&Ms, but I'm down with that.
That sounds good.
Peanut M&Ms is fourth. Adam, with all due respect, I will fight you to the absolute death. They are fourth. They are not. And Reese's Pieces, by the way, better than all these. Yeah. Better than every single one of these. But peanut butter M&Ms is the one thing I'll hear.
Yeah. The thing with me with the peanut M&Ms is you're not really getting any chocolate. It's like that candy shell and then a peanut. And it's not like really salted. It's just not. I just don't think they're that good.
If you go to somebody's house and they're like, hey, putting out, like you go over for like Memorial Day or maybe you're really close to being like Thanksgiving. And they're like, listen, putting out, some food before we get to dinner. And it's like, it's a shrimp cocktail and whatever. And then they're like, hey, got some peanut M&Ms. Like, what the fuck did I do to you?
Yeah.
You're going to hurt me like this?
You
went to the store, for Christ's sake, and that's what you walked out with? Shameful. Yeah. Shameful. Yeah. I completely agree with you. Again, I eat them because I am who I am, but I would not be happy about it.
I don't know what it is about. I mean, Reese's Pieces, obviously, you're getting the Reese's peanut butter. They're just like perfect.
Oh, they're
They're
amazing.
just so. I mean, I could eat those. Remember, we used to when we had an office here in Chicago. I made the big mistake of getting a giant candy dispenser with which I filled with Reese's Pieces, and it's just like 55 times a day. Because the worst part was that there were 3 bathrooms in the place, and one of them was off the kitchen. So if you were using that when you're walking by the Reese's Pieces machine, oh, little turn, little turn, little turn. I must have eaten 6 or 7 bags of Reese's Pieces a day when we were.
I remember when we were in that office, I weighed more than I weigh now, but I remember, like, I was trying to eat reasonably well at the time, but because I was commuting, I didn't have time to really exercise. So I was like, well, I got to eat well. So and I kept like counting calories in my head. And I'm like, why am I not losing weight? And then it dawned on me, like, I'm eating 800 calories of Reese's.
Yep.
Like, I was like, oh my God. And then I stopped eating them for a week and lost like 3 pounds.
Yeah, it's insane.
And then went back to eating them because some things are worth more than my health. But
Yeah.
I just remember, to your point, I actually got in trouble. I don't know who it was, but somebody sent out an email like, hey, you can't take the top off of the canister and stick your hand in. And I was like, look, I washed my hands before I did it, but the damn thing is stuck and I'm dying.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, you're disgusting. I'm like, of all the things that happened in those offices over the years, that's the thing I'm getting an HR email about.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh,
Unbelievable.
I was hurt.
It was that was a great office. We had boxes, giant but family-sized boxes of cereal and Reese's Pieces.
Yeah.
On the company dime.
Awesome.
Fantastic. People are like, oh, it's got a kegerator. Now get out of here. Reese's Pieces. All right, everybody. By the way, before we go, it's almost Count Chocula season, baby.
Oh,
bro, it's gonna be here before you know it.
I already told the people at Meyer, like, I need it now.
Yeah.
By the way, quickly, because now, hell, it's all in the Minute Media umbrella.
Yeah.
Make sure you are subscribed to Sports Illustrated, the magazine. The NFL preview comes out in August, and it is extremely lengthy. It is very, very well written by all my colleagues. I'm also in there. I can't promise that's well written, but they know I'm a Chiefs guy, and they commissioned me to write a story about the Chiefs trying to three-peat. And I spoke to a ton of people who have tried to three-peat, some of which have failed, some have succeeded. And I will tell you, I didn't just talk to NBA or NFL players. I also talked to an NBA player about this, who was part of a three-peat. So check it out. I talked to many, many football players. I talked to Joe Green of the Steelers for this thing. So that'll be in the magazine, also be online, but the full version will be in the magazine. So check it out. Make sure to do that both for me and for Minute Media, who now has a very, very, very vested stake in Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, and so you said it comes out in August?
Comes out in August. I believe mid-August.
Do you know? Yeah, I assume you don't know who's going to be on the cover.
Oh, I know who's going to be on the cover, but I can't say.
Okay. Well, I know everybody reads everything online now, but we're putting out, Minute Media, we're putting out the print. Not maybe like they used to, but there's a print version. I say support it if you can.
You know what? First of all, the print version is very affordable. And second of all, I mean this. The photography that Sports Illustrated does is second to none. It is worth it for that alone. Like, that is one thing I'm amazed by. I've now gone on assignment and done some stories, and the photography that they do to go along with it is insane. And I will tell you from my story, and I know because I was already asked about it, like, what photos do we need? Who do we need? The photography with this story is going to be phenomenal. So support it. Like, support good work. These photographers do great work. I do halfway decent work. Like, please go out, support it. If you get a magazine off the rack, it can be expensive. If you get a year-long subscription, it's nothing for what you're getting.
And you get, like when my teams are on, like if the Ohio State or the Chiefs, it's great decor. Like, if they sell magazine frames. So when that happens, that rare thing of your favorite player or your favorite team is on the cover of Sports Illustrated, snag it. And it's just, I'm just big on like physical media. Like, I want to sit on the can and read Sports Illustrated. Like, I don't want to stare at this friggin' phone. I work online. I'm online all the time. I'm sick of, of looking at, like, I want to go be a human being and read something on paper and hold it in my hands. And if it's something important, treasure it. and keep it. And I've got a few old copies of Sports Illustrated. Gave you a copy, old copy with the A's on the cover of Sports Illustrated. So, and you've got a lot of memorabilia behind you. It's a great way to decorate your space. So support the magazine, absolutely. And of course, support all the work we do here at Fansided. It's all online. So you can get plenty of that at arrowheadaddict.com. Matt Connor and the team doing great work over there. All right, everybody, we're going to get out of here. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll have more next week with all of our slate of shows, starting with Bryce Carter on Monday. And we'll catch you all up on everything that's happening at training camp. And until then, for Matt Verderame, Sports Illustrated, for producer Richard, my name is Patrick Allen. We'll see you next week. And until then, as always, go Chiefs.